So, just for some background, last year I did an inclusivity and accessibility for the gym training, and we are repeating it this year on video so that you have the chance to take a look at it. Now, this training is not only for our behavior in the gym and and how we kind of conduct ourselves, how we model our behavior in the gym, but it really also is for how we treat each other outside of the gym. I think that we have the opportunity as a therapeutic martial arts institution to stand out in the martial arts community in Tucson, not only because of who we are at the gym, but that we're a positive influence outside of the gym in the community. And it really is because we have such awesome students, instructors, volunteers, um, who are a positive influence that we're able to do a training like this and be the kind of gym that we are. So I want to thank everyone for that. So this is part one of this training. Um, Now, what I would do if we were in person training is I would start with our names and pronouns. So my name is Tyler Zinn, and my pronouns are they, them, their. And the reason that we do that is because we want to know how to be respectful of each other and how to refer to each other. So, pretty simple, but it's really important that one thing that I hear people saying is, I don't care what pronouns you use for me. Now, there are definitely some people that use any pronouns and they're interchangeable for them and they're okay with you using whatever pronouns you'd like for them. But what it means if you actually do have pronouns that you prefer is you're almost kind of saying I don't care what pronouns others use for themselves. And so it's really important to just go ahead and state your pronouns. Say, my pronouns are he, him, my pronouns are she, her, my pronouns are they, them, these, whatever your pronouns are, go ahead and just state them, unless you really do not care what pronouns are used for you. So I think the main thing that we want to learn from this is how to model respect to each other and to gym members. So we want to model the types of behaviors and interaction that we want to see to ensure that we meet our goals to be a respected therapeutic institution. It's important that we know that we're representing Tucson's Rising Phoenix as the gym when we're out in the community as instructors or volunteers. So we sometimes do volunteer as security or in other capacities when we're representing the gym or any of its programs, the same expectations exist as if we were in the gym in terms of how we model our behavior. So, being a therapeutic institution requires us to have the right members. If you invite wolves and sheep to a party, only wolves will show up because the sheep will afraid that be afraid that they'll be eaten. So if you invite predators and guys that have something to prove or bigots to the gym, the good people that we want to reach will leave because it won't feel like a safe place for them to be. And pretty soon we'll be a gym for people that are predators and guys with something to prove and bigots. So we don't want that. We want to make sure that we're attracting the right people to the gym and keeping the right people at the gym. How we act is about who we attract and who we retain. It's not only about possibly saying something hurtful or harmful. Another thing to know about this training is that we all have things that we need to work on, and we all need feedback on things we say or do that's not appropriate. So, this training will help us to give each other support and feedback as we learn. Learning about inclusivity and accessibility is a journey, not a destination. So, we're all going to make mistakes. None of us are going to be perfect at this, and it's all about learning and growing. Just about the training, this training may stretch your comfort zone and teach you new things or open up whole new areas to learn more about. Um, I think that when we talk about this training and learning new things, we need to make sure that we remember that this is a learning institution and all of us encourage our members and each other to stretch our comfort zones and learn things that are brand new to them. So in this training, we're capable of those things as well. We're capable of stretching our comfort zones, learning things that are brand new to us so that we can be better students or teachers or volunteers at the gym. None of us are too set in our ways to learn new things if we're patient with ourselves and each other. So, what does it mean to be a therapeutic martial arts gym? So, our philosophy is that we are able to help treat depression, anxiety, and other mental health conditions because of the way we teach martial arts. So, there's several ways that we do that. One way is that we um, provide a comfortable and really supportive environment socially for people so they're able to socialize in a safe place and have the experience of having other people that are there to help and support each other. We're always, I'm struck every time I'm in classes. About how supportive we are of each other, providing support, providing encouragement, providing tips, and that's really important when it comes to helping people with their mental health, um, so that they're feeling supported in multiple ways. Another way is exercise. Exercise is a really excellent way to help with mental health and to help boost serotonin and dopamine and to just give people a healthy physical outlet. It's been shown to really help with depression and anxiety and other mental health. So we really want to be um, very sensitive to what it means to have mental health issues and how we think about mental health. So, the nature of mental illness is that it's the same as physical health. It's a disease of the brain. So, it's the same as having a disease of the heart. We want to avoid phrases like just get over it or think positive. You can't think positively and, cure heart disease. Now, thinking positive is definitely part of overall health, but it's not going to be a cure. And so we want to avoid saying things um, that trivialize mental health as though it wasn't just another health issue. Now, cognitive behavioral therapy can help with some mental health conditions through changing thought patterns, but none of us at the gym, or at least most of us at the gym, are not therapists, and we're not the therapists of the members of the gym. We're not therapists for each other at the gym, and so think positive doesn't cut it as a treatment. It's just not. It's just not going to work. Another area that we want to be aware of is sometimes I hear jokes about mental illness. So people will say things like, I'm so OCD, or, me and my multiple personalities. We really want to make sure that we're not making jokes about mental illness. OCD and multiple personality disorder are not funny. It's really not funny to pretend that we have them just because we're very particular about things or because our minds change or our emotions change regularly. Making jokes about mental illness helps to stigmatize mental illness. And stigma causes people with mental health conditions to have lower self esteem. It makes them less likely to want to talk about their mental health. It keeps them from getting help. And it even causes them to lose opportunities like jobs or accommodations. So, to be a therapeutic institution, we need to encourage respect for people with mental health conditions and not make them feel bad. I think a lot of people don't realize that 1 in 5 adults in America has a mental illness, and 1 in 25 adults has a serious mental illness. So we are in the gym with people that have mental illnesses of all kinds, and we don't want anyone to hear a joke about their mental illness and feel less supported in the gym. Now, mental illness and homelessness and substance use often go hand in hand with each other. And I hear a lot of jokes about people who have mental illness and are homeless and or are substance users. So it's really important to realize that people who are homeless are much more likely to be victims of violence than perpetrators. We often think of homeless people as these kind of potential monsters who might attack, but really they're much more likely to be the victims than the perpetrators of violence. Same thing with people with mental illness. There's stigma that says that people with mental illness are potential attackers. And even people with diseases like schizophrenia are much, much more likely to be the victims of violence because they are more vulnerable to violence than they are to be the perpetrators of violence. And the same thing is true of people with substances. Again, we think of people who use alcohol or drugs as violent people, and really they're much more likely to be the victims of violence than the perpetrators because substance use makes them more vulnerable. So when we talk about wanting to help the community and then we make fun of people who may have one or more of these issues going on, we're actually really alienating those people and making it more likely that people will see them as bad, violent, or wrong. That's not helping those people, and those are some of the most vulnerable people in our community. Jesse has a program going with help of Dave and others at the gym to help people with homelessness as one of their issues going on with them. And so we want to be really respectful and model with the community that we take that seriously and that we know that those are vulnerable people. In 2010, the criminal victimization rate within the homeless community was 34 to 89%, depending on the region. And for people that are housed, there's more a much lower rate of violent crime victimization. It's approximately 1.2%. Substance use is often caused by people not getting the care they need for mental health issues and is also often caused by trauma or discrimination. Homelessness is often related to PTSD, being kicked out of the home due to being LGBTQ, trauma, domestic violence. It's not a moral failing to be homeless. So we should want to foster a sense of protecting people that are going through these things. Now, in terms of martial arts as a treatment for mental illness, we want to make sure that we understand that it's not necessarily a standalone treatment. Now, there are some people who can do physical activity like martial arts, and it helps them enough to get their mental illness under control, to get their mental health under control, and they're able to just use that as a treatment. But for most people, mental health treatment is um, a suite of things that we actually um, use to get people's health better. So it can be therapy, medication, exercise, eating better. It's very often, much more often, a group of things that people use than just one to really get their mental health under control. And so we as an institution are supportive of other aspects of treatments like medication and therapy. We never want to tell somebody, come to the gym, you won't need to take medication anymore. That is inappropriate. We're not psychiatrists for the people that are at the gym, even if we are a psychiatrist in our personal life. These are not our patients in a psychiatric sense. And so it's not up to us, and it's actually a liability for us to tell people not to stop taking other treatments just because they're coming to the gym. So just if people talk about the other treatments they have, just, be supportive. If you're not, if you personally are not supportive of those things, then at least be neutral and and make sure that your personal beliefs about the treatments that they're getting are not getting in the way of them feeling supported in their mental health condition. So because we're at the gym, we are encountering people who are trying to get healthier. And one of the ways that people try to feel that they're getting healthier is by trying to lose weight. And so I want to talk about eating disorders. So, the lifetime prevalence of different eating disorders is often a surprise to a lot of people. So, the lifetime prevalence is the proportion of a population that at some point in their life, up to the time of the assessment, have experienced the condition. So, we're talking about how likely it is that people, including people at our gym, have experienced these conditions. So, for binge eating disorder, it's 2.8%. For bulimia nervosa, it's 1%. Anorexia nervosa is 0.6%. And then there's actually a new diagnosis in the DSM-5 for avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. All of these have a high comorbidity with anxiety disorder and other mental health conditions, and exercise is often a part of eating disorders. So we probably have a higher incidence in our students than there is just in the general population. It's really important to know that you can't judge an eating disorder by someone's size or fitness level. So you can be thin, um, uh, or overweight, or um, what we would consider a normal weight, and still have an eating disorder. So how do we talk about fitness and nutrition in a way that's healthy for our members and doesn't potentially trigger people with eating disorder that are trying um, to maybe recover from those, or that maybe don't know that they have an issue yet and have those eating disorders? So dieting is the number one cause of the onset of eating disorders. Claiming to be on a diet is a common excuse given to cover up the presence of an eating disorder. For folks that have or recovering from an eating disorder, talk about dieting or talking about food as good or bad can be a trigger for the disorder. Um, so we want to be careful about moralizing our food and talking about maybe cookies as bad and broccoli is good. There's no moral standing to different foods. They're just foods. And we may talk about what is healthy for ourselves, but we don't want to say you're good. Basically, if we're saying cookies are bad, we're saying you're bad if you eat cookies. And again, this can be a trigger for people with eating disorders. Another way we can manage people with potential eating disorders, I'm going to pause for just a second. Okay, sorry. Another way we can manage helping people with eating disorders is not to comment on weight loss unless you know that that is someone's goal. And this is not only to do with eating disorders, but praising people for losing weight could be praising them for having an eating disorder. It could be praising them for having anxiety or depression that causes them to not feel like eating. It could be, and I have heard of this, it could be praising them for having cancer and being on chemo and not being able to eat. Um, so we really want to be careful that we are praising people for the goals that they have. So maybe their goal is coming to the gym twice per week, and we're praising them because we've seen them twice that week and we know that that was their goal. Maybe their goal is to build muscle. Maybe their goal is to increase their stamina, and we can see that their stamina is increasing as we watch them in the gym and we say, hey, I can really see that you're improving on that. So rather than assuming that weight loss is intentional or healthy, we want to focus on the goals that people have. So, I'm just going to take a really brief moment to say that if you have any questions, feel free to either put them in the comments or you can message me. You can email me at tylarzinn@gmail.com. That's TYLARZINN@gmail.com. You can also message me or give me a call at 520-232-4457. This training is going to be posted in a couple different ways, and so use whatever method is best for you to get in touch with me if you have any questions. So let's talk about trauma awareness. Um, we want to make sure that we have some understanding of how trauma affects people, and that we believe and support survivors. Believing survivors of trauma is absolutely vital. So if someone comes to you and talks to you about trauma that they have, it's really important to think before you speak, think before you respond, because sometimes the initial responses that we have are not appropriate. So thoughts that you have like that can't possibly be true or that must not have been as bad as they say should be kept to yourself And you can talk through it with someone else later, being careful to keep the person's confidence unless there's a safety issue. But you can talk through it with someone else later, and not be blaming or questioning the victim of the trauma. Um, you want to avoid questioning with, well, why didn't you do this or couldn't you have done that? Um, and you want to avoid any type of saying that it was the victim's fault. So one thing that we hear sometimes in martial arts and from um, other ways is learn to stand up for yourself. The barriers to this being effective in the workplace and other situations, the possibility of losing one home, job, caregiver, financial support, or other supports for many people if they do stand up for themselves, um, is huge for some people. Assaults and harassment are always the fault of the perpetrator, so it's important to be careful not to imply that someone not standing up for themselves is the cause of what happened to them. I want to talk a little bit about the halo effect. So, the halo effect is when our initial or ongoing impression of a person colors our view of the person as a whole and what they're capable of. So, we may think, oh, that person's so nice. He's a great parent. They're very polite. Um, those types of things can can kind of get in the way of us believing that that person might have done something to cause someone trauma. And so it's really important if someone discloses sexual harassment, assault, etc., by someone that you know, to not make statements about your impressions of their character. So even if you initially have a hard time believing the accusation, keep that to yourself at first, when the disclosure happens, and talk through your disbelief with other people, not the person making the accusation later. The other people should be fellow instructors, Jesse first if it's someone that's involved in the gym in any way. Um, be careful to keep the person's confidence if at all possible, unless there's a safety issue. But you want to make sure that you're talking through those feelings with other people, not with the person making the accusation. All right, so we are going to go ahead and pause and come back to this later. So we're going to have multiple parts to this series, and I'm not sure yet exactly how many there will be, but we will get back to you with further parts to the series next weekend. And I really appreciate you watching. Um, if you have any questions at all, again, just let me know. And we will get this posted on Rainbow Connection, on Tucson Krav Maga Lifestyle. But if you're not able to watch in those ways, just let me know and I can email it to you or provide it to you in other ways. Thanks so much and have a great day.